And we're live. Hey, what's up, everybody? How you doing? It's your man Jay Kevin here with my partner Leif Taylor. Just going
What's
to
up,
have
man?
our conversation as we always do about all things health, wealth, relationships, happiness, everything in between. Just about any area of life that you could think of, we will incorporate it in our conversation in some way, shape, or form. Just because that's what we do. There's a lot of things going on out there, like in the internets,
Oh
and there's
yeah,
always a lot of conversation to be had. So yeah, whatever. If we can bring it in, we're going to do it. But to Leif, today, I think we're going to start the conversation off talking about how important it is to savor the
fine.
moment,
Yes.
savor the moment. And there's a few things that kind of got me thinking about this. Number one is actually two. I watched two movies today, Leif. I was real productive.
Talk about them.
I ain't gonna talk about them. I'm just gonna let you know. I will just hit on the points that got me thinking about how important it is, how essential it is to savor the moment. One of them is the latest Terminator movie that came out in like 2019. I don't know if
Yeah,
you've
I've seen
seen
it.
it. Okay, well
I
I guess
have.
we can go. Okay, the one with the female that was
Yep.
augmented, and okay. Well, in that one, it just got me thinking about how important it is, how essential it is to just savor the moment while you have it, and try to find, uh, just try to find the good in every moment as possible to be grateful for, and that's one of the results of savoring the moment, which means to enjoy, uh, to just experience the moment for all the good that you can out of it. Just just quite simply, life isn't always going to be a cakewalk. Pretty much for most part of the life, it's not a cakewalk, right? There's a lot of obstacles, there's a lot of hurdles, there's a lot of issues and things that we as humans, we as people have to experience. That's just a part of life. Life will set up an obstacle course of headaches for you and me. And before we get up out of bed, it's going to slap us upside the head. And we're like, I'm waiting on you to get up. Hey, Angelica, I'm grateful in this moment for this reminder. Oh, cool.
That's
We're
good.
glad to hear that. We definitely appreciate that. Yeah, how important it is to savor it. So just thinking about the Terminator movie and just thinking about Arnold Schwarzenegger and his role, where he knew the day was coming that he was going to have to leave the life that he was living.
Thank you.
Very appreciative of
Likewise.
both you and your families. Thank you. And right back at you. Hopefully, you're savoring the moment with you and your family and your loved ones too,
And
Angelica. I
your
know you are.
sons.
Yeah, their sons. Man, they growing fast. They getting big too. Savoring the moments while you can. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, but like in that latest Terminator movie, thinking about Arnold Schwarzenegger's character in there and how he knew the day was coming to where he had to leave the life that he was living. That's one of
Yep.
the things that jumped out at me. And also today I've watched Wonder Woman, and again through her journey in that movie, just got me thinking about how important it is to really just appreciate and be grateful for and savor the good times while you can, knowing that all good things come to an end. There's always transitions and changes to be had,
Yep.
and more likely than not, where you're not going to like the experience of change. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
For
Change in
you know,
general is. Yep.
change in general is uncomfortable, and sometimes we don't like what the changes bring. But we have to learn to adapt, and we have to learn to grow and evolve uh, with respect to the change that happens in our life. So just savoring the good times while you have them, knowing that all good times come to an end and things do change. So just that those two movies really stuck out at me. There's a couple of things too about it, but I'll just leave it at that with that. And then that made me look up Dr. Lori Santos. She has a course on Coursera. I started it like a year ago, but I never really finished it. But some of the main principles and strategies and tactics that she teaches in that course. It's a course at Yale where she started it. But since then, she's taken it to Coursera. There's a curriculum for that, and then also
Mhm.
I think she has a book out too. She has a lot of interviews and talks and stuff on on YouTube, the internet.
Yep, yep.
So anybody that we talk about or bring up here, you can be sure that I've probably consumed a lot of their content before we come on. That way, people who are listening understand where I'm getting some of the content.
Yeah, you
And
get Kev's notes.
huh?
So you get Kev's notes instead of Cliff notes.
You're getting instead of Cliff notes, you get J. Ked's and Leif's notes. And if there's more that you want, more substance that you want, that you can go find and go down those rabbit trails to your heart's content. So yeah, just talking about Lori Santos and some of the things that she teaches in that course, we often talk about. Savor, the moment, which we talk about just appreciating, being grateful
Yep.
for those good things in our life. A lot of other things she talks about in the course, managing your expectations, that can really help in life. Coursera is not accredited, right? Um,
Coursera is just like courses. They may have like with some courses you may get certificates, but if you're looking for like college credit, probably not. But I don't even know how important college credit is nowadays, so I don't. So
well,
yeah, I ain't
again,
gonna
we're
open up that can of worms. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I know. We are in a transition time when it comes to education and accreditation. We still live in the old world for the most part. Many of us do. So it would behoove us to get the old world legitimate, however you say it. Yeah,
Legitimization.
yeah, whatever the old world deems as the legitimate path.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Unfortunately,
Angela. I'm sorry.
yeah,
I did it
I
crazy.
mean, Angelica, you might want to look through Coursera. There might be some courses in there that colleges will accept, and you may be able to, I don't know.
No, here's my take on it. Right, accredited or not, if the information is worth getting, then it's worth getting. Period.
Yes,
If you're
period.
focused on accreditation, then you can do that. But if it's not going to benefit you mentally or stimulate you mentally, then there's no point in doing any of it. To be honest, that's just my
Point well
take.
taken. Point well
So
taken. Um, but somebody may be wanting to do something in a professional field with it, so they may require more, or maybe open my eyes. Yeah. So a lot of the principles that she talks about in there, we often talk about the importance of savoring, being grateful. She talks about the importance of meditation. She talks about the importance of social connection
yep.
and getting yourself involved and making yourself available for service to your fellow man or woman. That's very important. She um, talks about the importance of relationships. She has a website, Happiness Lab, at happinesslab.fm. And on there, she has that's her podcast website. And you can look through some of the topics and stuff that she talks about when it comes to respect to scientifically backed, tested ways and being happy and being content no matter what. Like she has a lot of talks revolving around coronavirus. She talks about how to beat isolation, um, loneliness. She talks about coaching yourself through a crisis, rising to a challenge. Calm can be contagious. That we talk about that all the time. How important it is to learn how to be calm in crazy, chaotic situations.
Yep.
2020 has been a crazy, chaotic, situation for a lot of people, and it's important on how to maneuver through these waters and how to remain calm, given no matter what. I'll give you uh, yesterday there was a situation where someone was stuck in a whole other city, and they're going to be stuck there for a while. And because of connections and stuff, they reached out and to a friend of mine, and we were able to provide some assistance to someone in a crazy, chaotic situation. I mean, I don't know about you, Leif, but if I just happen to be in another city with just my car, and I don't have my smartphone, man, that can be
I've
nerve
had
wracking.
it happen before.
You had it happen before?
Oh yeah.
Being in another city, no friends, just your car, no smartphone.
Yeah.
How did you get out of that situation, or how did you maneuver through that?
I just figured it out because I got lost. I had some pre-printed maps, and,
Oh
and
man.
and I got somehow because like it was one of those highways where everything like goes three different ways, and I couldn't figure out which one to take, and then I just pulled over and just reassessed, and I was like, I'm just gonna go on faith and go this particular way, and it just worked out. So yeah, I've been there. I've had it happen before where I was driving home one night and it was like extremely sleepy and I ended up in a whole nother state.
What?
Yeah. So I pulled over to a gas station, asked them, where should I go? And then I did that and I just drove and I saw like a rest area. I stopped there so I could take a nap because I was extremely tired and just reassessed and figured it out and got home.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
So
But you
been
remain
there.
calm throughout the whole situation.
Yeah, I'm not a panicky type person. So it's just part of my demeanor. Just to like, just assess, relax, be clear in thoughts. Don't panic because panic can make things 10 times worse. Plus your adrenaline gets pumping and all of those kinds of things. So my default is to get extremely calm in bad situations, and so that way I can just reevaluate and go for it. So that's just how I did it. It worked, and thank God it worked.
Hmm.
So,
Well, as you were talking, I can think of some situations where I've been like in some real remote country places, out in
oh
rural
yeah,
areas where you lose phone signals, and you do like I have been lost on like literally up in the mountains, no
yep.
phone signal. You only got so much gas. I'm looking at the gas tank, and I'm like in real unfamiliar territory, and you have to. It brought back the importance of paying attention and
Oh yeah,
not
yeah.
relying on
Click that
your
radio
cell
off.
phone. Yeah,
Turn the
like
it's like
why
a
you turn
focus.
the radio down? You by yourself? Yo, I'm focused, man. I'm in
Yeah,
there.
exactly. No, I've had that happen. Actually, this past summer, there was a wreck like on the highway, and I had it was when I was speaking at the financial thing, and there was a wreck on the highway, and I had a detour because I was like, "There's no way I'm gonna get there in time," because I was already sitting in traffic for an hour, so I just drove through the median onto the other side of the highway, and then the phone signal went out, and luckily I had some back road map. My wife was like, don't go through those areas. It's still backwoods Kentucky kind of stuff in some areas. And she's like, nah, don't do that. I don't want you going. I was like, nah, I'll figure it out. And so I just happened to just go the right direction. And luckily, I had enough map on my phone. The signal wasn't there, but I could just see an overview of the area, and I
Yeah,
try to
yeah,
navigate through some back roads to get around the highway. And
yep.
so,
I've
yeah,
done that before too.
yeah. So, yeah. Anyway,
So
finish your
yeah,
story.
yeah. The important, to bring it all the way back around, it's important to learn how to cultivate calmness and chaos through chaotic situations. It's
And
very
practice.
essential, and it's key
Yes.
to your happiness and you being able to maintain or be able to modulate real quickly back to contentment or happiness.
Yeah.
That's
And for example, it was just going back to what we were talking about before getting online. Just it's really just about, for me anyway. I don't know how other people said it. It's really just about thinking in the future, right? Thinking about outcomes and past outcomes. I remember the time when I was in office and I cut my leg on a window pane,
Oh,
and
yeah.
yeah, and I didn't realize how bad it was, but literally the window pane sliced through my leg to where my leg was like gaping open, and I just remained extremely calm. I just reached down and I just because like for me, I assess what's going on, and I just try to like I just go through a backlog of information in my head, and it's like, okay, I need to put pressure on it so it doesn't bleed. And actually, I didn't even a drop of blood never even spilled out of my leg because I literally just reached down, held it together with my own two hands, and Lamar, he was in the office at the time. My other business partner, he passed out because he saw it and passed. He literally passed out. And Lamar went in the hallway, and the fire department just happened to be in our building, and so they gave me a ride to the hospital, and I had to get my leg stitched up. But the whole time, I just held my leg together.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I
Do
mean,
what you got to do.
you didn't say one word about pain, and that's all I'm thinking about.
Nah, I honestly, getting the stitches hurt more than the actual cut itself. So the shot to get the stitches, that's what hurt. Everything else was, I don't know if it was adrenaline or what. But
You're just from another planet. That's all. You made of a different cloth.
yeah, but it's just again for me, and plus I've had a lot of safety like training when I was in school and college, and so again, a lot of those. That's why I said practice this stuff, right? Practice a lot of different things. It's the same thing. Like for example, if you were ever to be in a fight or something like that, in high intense situations, the best thing that you can do. And sometimes you have to react extremely fast, so it's not a relaxing moment. But the best thing you can do is you keep your mind. Period. Keep your mind and react accordingly. And if you can keep your mind, and you can get out of a lot of situations. Not to say that some things aren't
Right.
can't
Avoid.
but if you keep your mind with stuff, then you have a higher chance of survival. So that's the way I think. I always think calm first so I can survive. So I have a survival instinct that, the fight or flight kind of thing. I'm a let me assess and figure out what the best course of action in this given moment is kind of person.
And that's one of the benefits or side effects of a lot of the things that we're talking about right now when it comes to just one tactic or one principle being, or one thing to do being just savoring the moment with her. Like we talked about some of the other ones as far as meditation, being aware, being grateful. All these things help you maintain a certain clarity of mind that's beneficial no matter what. And I'm thinking about this, because of the year 2020, and just I was looking at some of the statistics and stuff that is in my view isn't getting enough play as far as mainstream, as far as as far as a lot of things that's kind of happening out of view of mainstream media, and it kind of just gets pushed to the wayside. So in looking at a lot of that content material, it just always brings me back to the importance of having these happiness habits, and always remembering how essential and how important it is to really cultivate some of these things, these main principles. They help keep you in a good, clear, calm, sober state of mind. Just thinking about 2020 again and how crazy things have gotten, and thinking about 2021 about how much more crazier things may get. If it's, just looking at the trajectory that we're on, it's almost, to me, in my view, it's almost inevitable that things are going to get, or are seemingly getting more crazier, or could get more crazy. Just thinking about today, we're still on the same course, and it doesn't look like things are slowing down any. I'm just thinking about Nashville, just at the top of my head with that. Yeah, just looking at that.
People know what happened in Nashville. Just for people that didn't know.
Oh, this morning there was a bomb that went off downtown, and they and it blew up much of the building and a nice little section of downtown Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know or see if there was any casualties or anything like that. I think there was
Well,
like,
yeah, I saw like before I took my nap, I was reading up on it, and there were at the time, but of course you never know because it's a building. At the
yeah,
time, it was like just minor injuries to some people because I guess the timing of it, that it was like 7 a.m. or something, and it was
they give a
downtown.
head, they give a heads up too.
Yeah, and they gave a warning, which was kind of different. That they gave a warning to people not to be around there, and so yeah, that happened, and not a lot of people got injured. It was only like a couple, like maybe two that they mentioned. But again, you never know because it's a building, it's a large area. You don't really know until days after who doesn't report in, kind of stuff, right?
Right.
When these kinds of things happen. So yeah, that was this morning, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, so just thinking about that, and this is the 25th, right? So there's only a few more days left in the year. So what can happen? I keep just looking at that. I keep on telling people that it's getting worse, and they don't believe me. Yeah. Whether somebody believes you or not,
Yeah. So my assessment on life, we talked about this all the time, is that it's neither worse or better. It just is. And so that's just my philosophy in terms of life, because we don't know what life is going to bring, because we're not from the future, unless some of us are. Who knows? Uh, we're not from the future, so life just is. I didn't live in the past. I didn't live in the future. I'm living now. And so the trajectory of the world is just what it is, barring God intervening and doing whatever he's going to do, kind of thing. But so I just assess the world for what it is and act accordingly to what I'm seeing, figuring out what the environment is and figuring out, what kind of change I personally want to enact and what kind of changes are being enacted, outside of my involvement. So that's just my take on it.
Yeah. Well, I can agree with Angelica. I think it is getting worse for us at this moment. Just looking at some of the things that's happening. Um, but with respect to that, it could be getting better for a lot of people too. That's one of the things I like to bring
But
around
that's
in the
what I'm saying. So it's
conversation.
just relative. It's relative in terms of, okay, what's worse for somebody may be great for somebody else. It's stock market crash is bad for some people and great for others. Economies crashing may be bad for the U.S. and great for another economy. You just, yeah, you just don't know. So that's the way I look at it, because one man's misfortune is another man's fortune sometimes, and so
So it's best to have these conversations in order to maneuver yourself into the best
yeah.
possible position with
That's it.
respect,
It's about
regardless of
yeah, it's
what's going
about
on.
perspective in terms of, I mean, think about it. Even the end of the world is a great thing for some people and bad for others. So it is what it is. It's like, yeah, how do you find yourself today, kind of thing. It's like, well, you're lukewarm, stay lukewarm. If you're hot, stay hot. If you're cold, stay cold, because it's gonna come upon you. So yeah, so that's just the way I look. Again, these are my perspectives. I'm not being sponsored by anybody, so
So we're talking what we're talking about, as far as just savoring the moment as one tactic or strategy is, strategy to maintain calmness and clarity and happiness with respect to whatever somebody may think about what's going on in the aggregate as far as the
yep.
world. And these conversations is to shed light that there are always ways to make the best of a situation. There's always a silver lining in the cloud. I know I'm sounding over positive with my
No, I
positive
mean,
mental attitude is strong. It can be at times,
yeah, but
but
that's the truth of it. It
yeah,
again, it's like, okay, what could be, there are always, in most cases, of course, there's that one extreme person that is the worst case scenario, right? But in most cases, there's possible silver linings if you live long enough and if you look long enough, right? And this is in a whole lot of areas, in terms even in death, right? There are even sometimes silver linings in those things, but hindsight always gives you better clarity because you're not in the moment.
Yeah.
And so when you're in the moment, a lot of times these things seem so overwhelming that you can't handle it. But if you keep living long enough, if you keep loving long enough, those things will be healed over. Those situations, will bring some further clarity. And sometimes the clarity comes after your life is over, unfortunately. And so,
So your
yeah,
life becomes a lesson for your
yeah,
legacy.
and sometimes it's not even that, right? Just to go, from the scripture standpoint, from the Bible, I always look at stuff from the standpoint of, there were prophets in the Bible that they died and everybody thought they lied until decades later, sometimes centuries later, that it was proven to be true. So for them, I'm sure that the outcomes of the scenarios didn't look great, but ultimately it was they were correct. They were right, and it worked out in the end. But even though their demise had already happened centuries before, so that's kind of the way I look at stuff. Sometimes I look at it long term, beyond even my own life. Even though that's hard to do because you want to be included in a lot of stuff. You don't want to be on the bad end of anything. I definitely don't. So yeah, man, it's the fact that the world keeps moving, the world keeps turning, and life keeps going on. Bad and good is relative in terms of outcomes. I'm not talking about people's intentions or anything like that, but I'm talking about in terms of overall outcomes. You don't know what that'll spark. You mentioned the Terminator movie. All that movie really is about outcomes and what sparked what and what didn't change, what did change, and even in the end it always works. It worked out for them, and humanity as a whole in those scenarios, right? And so when you look beyond yourself, then you can sometimes see a bigger picture. So that's just the way I try to approach stuff, and I try to stay that way even when things go bad personally, right? That's when it's hard when it hits home directly. you know Things get cloudy and all you see is trees, right? You don't see the forest anymore. You're just faced with trees. And so, just trying to step out of that sometimes if you can, if it's possible. And that's why you have other people around you that can buffer some of that, that cloudy vision for you, right?
Yeah.
You know, it might hit home to you, but somebody else can see other stuff. Is like, okay, I know it hurts now, but just I'm gonna be here until you make it through this, so you can see the other side of it, kind of thing.
So the another one that we always talk about as far as when it comes to happiness, contentment is community and
Community,
having
yeah,
people involved
that's
in your
everything.
life
Yep.
that can help you make that breakthrough and get to the other side of what we talk about when we talk about outcomes of
Yeah.
a position that enables you to have contentment and happiness regardless of what's going on. You know, what's that, Angelica? It's definitely challenging to live only with God's validation. We are fallen beings, and we do want the validation of our peers. Yeah, that's definitely. We were meant to be communal, and we were meant to have relationships and validation. We often talk about, to live your life the way that you want to, and and kind of have that type of mentality. But at the same time, we nuance our conversation, saying that yeah, having the validation and having uh, the affirmation of those involved in our lives that we are personally or vulnerable to, that's very important. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, I mean, we're human, and humans do need a certain level of validation from
And
those
that's
that are in our lives.
because and that's a good thing because it helps curb chaos, right?
Yeah, it
Uh,
helps maintain order.
yep.
Yes.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah. These are the unseen mechanisms when it comes to culture And when it comes to society and those things that help invisibly maintain us and keep us
Yeah.
uh, contained and orderly. So, there's good and bad to everything. It just depends on how it is used and how it's manifested in whatever situation we're talking about. When I was talking just now, I was thinking about the book Nudge and thinking about how that's a term among social engineers and how they pull the invisible levers and levers when it comes to culture and nudging us in directions. That's a sidebar. That's what I was thinking of. But I was thinking when you were talking about the Terminator and you were talking about how maintaining um, a good position no matter what. It doesn't exclude oftentimes, we the conversation around the work and the pain and the suffering that's often involved in
Yeah.
in the pursuit of that outcome. It's not a cakewalk.
Not at all.
Depending on what you're talking about, there could be a lot of pain, a lot of sweat, sweat equity, and a lot of suffering, a lot of work. So that's part of the conversation that sometimes we often glean over, but we bring it up a lot. We bring it up some with talking about people like David Goggins and
Yeah, yeah.
just people with the work ethic, talking about you have to be disciplined and you have to be able to go through those hard moments in order to maintain it and
Yeah, because like you said, you have to be a harder person, right? In the sense of just enduring. I did myself Floyd Mayweather today when I was working on some of the stuff we was talking about before, and I was like, one of the things they used to say in this training camp is hard work is easy work, right? And so every now and then, if I look that I got a lot of stuff to do that that I don't want to do, I'll just say that quote to myself, hard work is easy work, and then begin the journey. And so again, we're not saying that 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 you will be immune to the things that go on around you. And especially anybody with aging parents, they're gonna have to face some hard truths coming up, and whether they're aging or not, life, man, is just life. You don't know when your number is up on this planet. You don't know when the number is up. So going back to the theme of what we're talking about, savoring those moments, I literally savor every moment I have with my wife, my children, my family. I think about it because when you become acquainted with grief, so to speak, and death, you value those moments. So I don't ever take it for granted. I'm a hermit most of the time in terms of physically. Actually, I'm not. I am and I'm not at the same time.
right.
I am from the standpoint of society as a whole, but I do. I don't underestimate the value of having my family around me 24/7. I don't underestimate that at all. And so again, just those things will come. Those things will affect you emotionally, mentally.
The bad
It'll
times.
Yeah, it'll be draining. And again, bad or good is it's relative. It feels bad when it happens, but again, it's still relative, right? And I'm not I'm too finite to say whether something is ultimately bad or good. So I can't be the judge of that. I just know how I feel at certain times, and sometimes my feelings can be deceptive. And so when I think about the
But you
things,
but you do allow yourself to experience those feelings, right?
yeah, I mean, I'm a human. Everybody has feelings, whether they acknowledge them or not. They're there.
Yeah.
Whether I acknowledge something or not doesn't mean that it goes away. And it doesn't change truths even ultimately or temporarily, right? And so yeah, so when those times arise, that's why community is so important. That's why sound counsel is worth its weight in gold, in terms of having people that'll give you the right kind of feedback, the right kind of information. Because when things go bad, you're very vulnerable at times mentally, and having the wrong kind of people around you can lead you down a forever life changing path that you didn't want. So again, a good quality community is definitely worth more than anything on the planet at the right time anyway. So again, just cherish the moments you have. Cherish the moments you have with your family. Cherish the moments you have even in your thoughts. Just cherish the moment that you have, available to think. Because some people live in chaotic places to where thinking
They
is a
can't.
luxury.
Yeah.
Yeah, thinking is a luxury, and you don't want to take those things for granted because, again, going back to what we were talking about with Tennessee, if all the communications, which I think it was an attack on communications, especially if they didn't want anybody around, because most terrorists don't care. This is an attack on communications, then this dialogue that we're having may be a temporary thing, right? It may go to where they're targeting all kinds of communication towers to where they shut the grid down in that sense, and so then community will become even more important.
Oh
Uh,
man.
so again, these things, this state that we're in right now, having these open talks and this kind of stuff, this is stuff is temporary. We
Yes.
we may not have these opportunities, right? And it may all go away. And whether that's good or bad, who knows? It may be great. It may be ultimately a great thing. Temporarily, it feels terrible. I want to get on my Facebook. I want to watch my movies. I want to, get on my computer and make these things that I make and all of that kind of stuff. But maybe, somebody knows something that I don't. I know there's plenty of people that know what I don't. Uh, but ultimately, it may be like, man, what somebody was trying to do for the bad ended up being ultimately great for society. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe this is just a one-time scenario. Maybe it's a many times. I don't know. But cherish the moments that you have. Cherish the joys that you have in life. Cherish just moments. Period.
Yes. Okay. Now, what are some? She talks about three things
Who's she?
that. Oh, Dr. Lori Santos
Yep.
talks about three things that we are indoctrinated to think will bring us happiness. What do you think
Okay.
those three things are? They're real easy.
Yeah. Money. Uh,
Yep. Money's one. What's the other
success.
one?
Fame and success. What,
Yep.
what what was the third one? I
What's
know fame, but I don't.
uh talked about stuff, awesome stuff, like accumulation
Yeah.
of stuff, material things. Talks
Things,
about true love, and then she talks
yeah.
about the
Fantasy.
perfect
Yeah.
body and good grades. So she talks about
Fantasy
a
album.
good job. When I growing up, I thought a good job was going to bring me happiness, a lot of money. When I growing up, I thought having a lot of money is going to bring me happiness. And then number three, she talks about, a lot of times, I thought that having awesome, cool stuff would bring me happiness. I thought that finding the perfect mate will make me happy. And I also thought about that, having the perfect buff body would bring happiness. And none of that stuff is fulfilling.
Yeah,
It's fleeting.
it's temporary. Yeah, it's temporary. Like you said, fleeting.
Feels good for a moment, and then you realize there's more to life than having a good job, a lot of money, and awesome stuff, and a good body. Um, so she deals with each of those as far as what we think would bring us happiness versus what actually brings us happiness. Going
Yep.
back to some of the things we talk about, savoring the moment,
Yep.
gratitude, um, social connections, serving. These are the things that really provide the substance of
And,
life.
and you know why we pursue those other things? Because that's what's
Because
marketed to us. I can't make money off of you being happy at home, doing things that
yeah,
I didn't make, right? It's like, what do you mean you're enjoying outside? Hey, I didn't make outside. I need you to be in the house on
outside
my
is
property.
free.
Exactly.
We need you in the house on the like now.
Exactly. In front of
Yeah,
Facebook and on the
for the
camera.
Facebook, so we can add market the ads to you. But she talks about how oh man, how we're wired to desire some of those, the things that we're not supposed to. and how the things that we're supposed to desire, we're not wired with the desire to go after those things. Does that make sense? So she talks about how we have to work at, you know, virtue. Virtue. We have to work at cultivating those things, the good things to desire. Um,
because a lot of the stuff that's marketed is really based around greed, right? Our own greed and the things that we want to consume and overconsume. So virtue is not a greed based factor.
well, I wouldn't say greed. It's based around our des, our desire for the dopamine hit.
Yeah,
And right now I'm thinking about Dr. David Lustig and how the hacking of the American
yeah,
mind, how he
yeah,
talks about, yeah, how the structure, how they have scientifically gotten it down to the point of understanding the mechanism as far as our hormones and our chemistry. They've got it down to that level as far as triggering our desire and feeding that. Does that make sense?
yeah. Less of the eyes, less of the flesh.
Right.
It- it-
They've gotten that down to the biochemistry chemistry level as far as that mechanism and how it works. So they operate on that level. But we know it as, like you said, we are just we have that desire towards those things. It's built into us. Um, Angelica says we want to show off. That's what it is, full blown pride. Okay. So I want to floss, huh?
no, gotta floss. It's like what's the good of growing up if nobody know, right? If I made $1 million and don't nobody know, how does it help? So, but yeah, it's and again, yeah, I don't. I'm gonna keep that to myself because I don't want to go on a whole another conversation. Uh,
Okay.
but I'll save it for another day. I'll make a note.
All right. Well, that's all I got, man. Just want to have a conversation about savoring the moment as one way
Yep.
of, you know, experiencing happiness and contentment during chaotic times. 2020 has been a rough year. It's the 25th right now, and who knows what 2021 will bring as far as level of craziness. And it does a lot of good for you, for me, to really make it a practice and make it a priority to cultivate happiness and contentment, no matter what.
Yeah.
Again, the happiness.lab.fm is the podcast of Dr. Lori Santos, who has a course on Coursera, and also she taught it at Yale, the science of well-being. And just thinking about where we are and where we could be going, it's definitely essential that we take moments like this that's designed and is built on the premise of family and just taking some moments to appreciate where we are and where what you have in your life, no matter what it is.
Yeah. And so, like, my take on it again, just from the way we talked about it last week, I 2020 is just a year. Um, I've had worse years.
Mm-hmm.
This I wouldn't count this as one of them. Myself, again, this is from a personal standpoint.
Personal, yeah,
Yeah, and so is yeah. There's always ebbs and flows in any given time or situation. Look at it accordingly. Gain the right perspective on your life as a whole, how it affects other people, all of those kinds of things, and just do your best. She said, "Hold on, I'm sorry. I just want to post this." He said, "Seriously, this conversation was an answer to one of my prayers. I'm blessed to have been on Facebook at the same time with you. Thank you. I'm glad that what we said was helpful. I'm
yep,
glad it's beneficial to you. That's the goal of us doing the show. We don't make any money from this show. We don't get any accolades from doing this. It's just something that Kevin and I just decided to do. So anytime we get on, we pray that it's helpful to somebody. Um, you know, yeah. And so again, just going back, my perspective on this year. Um, it's a year. It's just time. It's a continuum of life, and I'm just trying to find the best, maximize the best that I can out of it. Um, and that's literally all you can do. Not all you can do. You can do more. You can actually help other people and all of that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. Figure out what you can do to benefit others. We talked about virtue a second ago.
Yep.
Figure out what virtuous things you can do to help other people, and instead of making life more miserable for people, make it more
Virtual
joyous.
devices, right?
Yeah, yeah, help supply somebody else's needs, not necessarily wants, but their needs. Somebody that's hungry or somebody that you can help do something with, help them. Just that simple. Everybody's been saying this for quite some time, but all we have is one another, right? And so live your life that way. Develop community if you haven't found one. Online is a good place to start. If since you can't be close, I've met so many people this year just from being online. I just took it for what it is. It's like instead of complaining about 2020 not being able to go certain places, it's like, okay, what is available, right? One of our mottos was in our company was where others see obstacles, we see opportunities, right? So seek the opportunities that are in front of you. There's all kinds of opportunities. When one thing, like I said, when one thing stops, then it opens the path to a whole lot of other things, right? So take advantage of that. See where you can help add value in this economy, where you can help add value in the lives of others. And sometimes what's clear to you may not be clear to everybody. So with that in mind, it may even be lucrative, financially, or maybe it's lucrative,
In other ways, as
yeah,
far as
like
joy, yeah, as far as
yeah,
joy,
and joy,
knowledge, wisdom,
all of that. And you just never know, right? And it's worth taking a gamble to do the right thing. That's the way I'll put it. It's worth taking
man,
the gamble to do the right thing. So take that gamble and help if you think you can be of benefit to somebody else. So I'll end with that
it's
myself.
worth taking a gamble to do the right thing.
Yep,
Hmm.
always.
Hmm. Well, on that, we can we'll close out the conversation on that. Two
Yes, sir.
shy guys in the mic, like Taylor, Jay Kevin, just having an open conversation about health, wealth, relationships, and happiness, everything in between. Today we talked about savoring the moment and how important, how essential it is to do that, given that there could be all kinds of craziness going on outside your front door, but as
Amen.
long as you're happy and content in your heart, then there's always a way. It's always, things could be worse, could be better. So just savor the good thing times while you can.
Yep. Hope make him not ashamed. So anyway, peace, everybody. Thank you, Ms. Radu, for
Yep.
tuning in with us, and anybody else who didn't chime in. We appreciate your eyeballs and your listening. We thank you and we love you. Two shy guys in the mic signing out.
Signing out.
Peace.
Hit like, share.